Hey, gorgeous. Welcome to Unapologetically 50 Plus, where we talk about real life, real growth, and real healing, especially for women 50 and over who are stepping into their next chapter with intention. This is our fourth episode of Boundaries and Becoming, and today we're talking about movable boundaries. You know, the kind of boundaries that change based on your mood, maybe your fear of conflict, you fear conflict, or maybe you have the need to be liked. Those type of boundaries where you think you're being reasonable or going with the flow, but in reality, it's quietly damaging your relationship and your own self-trust. But before we get started, I have one huge favor to ask. If you find any value or enjoy the content, please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. I truly appreciate your support. Okay, let me give you an example of movable boundaries. Maybe you say, I'm not available after 8 p.m., but then you respond at 10:30 to a call because you didn't want to seem like you were ignoring the call or maybe hurting someone's feelings. Or you tell someone, hey, I'm not comfortable with that, but then you say yes anyway because you didn't want to deal with the conversation. Or you have a rule for how you want to be treated, but that rule disappears if you're tired, lonely, or emotionally overwhelmed. And before you know it, your boundaries aren't boundaries anymore. They're suggestions. They're mood based and they're unreliable. Now, let me be clear you have the right to change your mind. You have the right to grow. You have the right to reassess your boundaries. But reassessing is not the same as wavering. But let's slow down for a minute and talk about the difference between reassessing and wavering. Reassessing boundaries means you're checking in with yourself and asking, is this boundary still aligned with who I am today? Does it still serve and protect me in a healthy way? Do I feel grounded in it, or is it rooted in fear or old pain? Reassessing is an intentional process. It's conscious, it's reflective, it's growth oriented. It often comes after you've had time to process, heal, or gain clarity, not in the middle of a high emotion moment. But wavering is different. Wavering happens in the moment, usually under pressure. It sounds like, well, maybe just this once. I don't want to deal with an argument. If I say no, they'll be upset with me. Wavering is reactive, not reflective. It's driven by fear, guilt, people pleasing, or the desire to avoid discomfort. And the danger with wavering is that it teaches people that your boundary is negotiable, even when it's not supposed to be. So ask yourself, am I reassessing this boundary with intention, or am I wavering because I'm afraid of being misunderstood or unloved? Inconsistent boundaries send mixed signals to the people in your life. And over time, those mixed signals create mistrust, not just from others, but within yourself. Because when your boundary depends on your mood, you're actually teaching people that they don't need to take your no seriously. They learn that if I wait long enough, she'll change her mind. She says she's not okay with it, but she'll go along with it. Or she sets the line, but she doesn't hold it. And listen, it doesn't take much for that pattern to form. People watch what you do, not what you say. And if what you say doesn't match what you do over time, you lose credibility. So now let's go a little deeper. Why does this happen? Why do we set boundaries and then move them? It's not because we're weak, it's because we're human. And for many of us, especially women, we've been socialized to please, to caretake, to keep the peace. And holding a boundary feels like a threat. We don't want to be seen as too much, too cold, or too demanding. We don't want to lose love or closeness or even approval. So we bend, we adjust, we shrink our needs in real time. And in doing so, we betray the part of us that said, I need this, I deserve this matters to me. So let me give you an example, a personal example. Years ago, I had a very clear rule about not working on weekends. It was a boundary I set because I needed space to reset, to be with family, and to not feel like my time was always up for grabs. But then came the exceptions. It's just one Saturday meeting. Okay, this person really needs me. Ooh, I don't want to seem unavailable. And before you knew it, my clear boundary had turned into a loose preference. People no longer took it seriously because I didn't take it seriously. I taught them that no meant maybe, and not right now meant if you push me hard enough, I'll say yes. And let me tell you, reclaiming a boundary after you've repeatedly moved it, it's not impossible, but it does take intentionality. It starts with you. So let's talk about how to fix this. How do we go from movable boundary to respected boundary? So here are a few truths I want you to hold on to. One, your boundary doesn't need to be justified to be real. You don't need a detailed explanation. You don't owe a backstory. I'm not available after 8 p.m. is a full sentence. I'm not comfortable with that is enough. When you over explain, you invite negotiation. So you have to stand in your boundary without apology. Two, you must hold your boundary even when it's inconvenient, and especially then. That's when it matters most. If you're only sticking to your boundaries when it's easy, they're not boundaries, they're preferences. Boundaries will cost you something. Maybe it'll be time, approval, maybe even closeness in the short term. But what you gain is self respect, and that's priceless. Three, expect some pushback and don't take it personally. When people are used to you bending, your consistency might feel like rejection. They might guilt you, they might question you, they're going to test the waters. That doesn't mean your boundary is wrong. It means your pattern is changing and not everyone benefits from the new version of you. Let that be okay. And finally, be compassionate with yourself. You're learning, you're healing, you're unlearning a lifetime of patterns. You don't need to get it perfect. You just need to keep choosing yourself with consistency because consistency is what builds trust, not just with others, but with yourself. Let me leave you with this reflection. What is one boundary you set, but keep moving? And what would it feel like to hold it this time out of anger? Not out of anger, not to prove a point, but simply because it honors your truth. Think about that. And if you want more support and tools around boundary setting and clarity and reclaiming your voice, head on over to my Stand store and check out my Rediscovering Purpose and Passion guide. So I want to thank you for joining me today. And my final episode of the Boundaries and Becoming series, we're going to talk about what happens when someone else sets a boundary with you and why being on the receiving end can feel so triggering. So please come back for the final episode. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye.